Looks like the bolt's stripped. Hand me that wrench and I'll see if I can get it loose.
Be careful, it's really stuck.
In a town where pickup trucks were polished, boots were clean, and reputations were worn like belt buckles, he looked like someone the wind had dragged in and forgotten. His hat was faded, the brim bent from years of sun and rain. His jeans were dust-stained, his boots scuffed past the point of vanity. He sat alone at the far end of the diner counter every morning at exactly 6:10, ordered black coffee and 2 eggs, and spoke to no one unless spoken to first. People called him the drifter cowboy. No last name. No past anyone could confirm. Just a quiet man passing through, or so everyone assumed. Clara noticed him because she, too, knew what it felt like to be invisible. She worked mornings at the diner, tying her hair back before sunrise, pulling on the same worn apron she'd been using for years. At 28, life had already taught her lessons she never asked for. Her mother was gone. Cancer. Slow and unforgiving. Her father had left long before that, chasing dreams that never circled back. The small ranch she'd grown up on was drowning in debt, and every tip she earned went toward keeping the lights on and the land from being taken. She had dreams once. College brochures still sat in a box under her bed. Travel photos clipped from magazines were yellowing with time. A life bigger than the horizon she stared at every day. But dreams didn't pay property taxes. So she poured coffee, smiled politely, and learned to read people without them saying a word. And the drifter cowboy was different. He never flirted, never complained, never looked at his phone. When the diner was loud, his silence felt heavier. When it was quiet, it felt deliberate. One icy morning, when the heater barely worked and the diner was nearly empty, Clara refilled his cup without asking. On the house, she said softly. Looks like a long road kind of day. He looked up, surprised, as if kindness caught him off guard. Thank you, he said, his voice low and steady, like gravel warmed by the sun. That was all. But something about the way he said it stayed with her. Over the weeks, small exchanges grew into conversations. Nothing dramatic. Just fragments. Weather. Horses. The way land changes after a hard winter. He spoke like someone who understood patience, who'd learned to listen more than talk. She learned his name was Jack. No last name. Just Jack, he'd said with a faint smile. The town didn't care for mysteries. Whispers followed him wherever he went. Probably running from something. Probably broke. Probably dangerous. Clara ignored them. She had learned early that people were more than their rumors. One evening, after her shift ended late, she found him outside the diner, leaning against the wooden post, rain dripping from the brim of his hat. You waiting for someone? She asked. Just the storm to pass, he replied. She hesitated, then surprised herself. I could use help fixing a fence tomorrow. I can pay. He studied her for a moment, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but as if weighing something deeper. I don't work for money, he said gently. Her face flushed. Sorry. I didn't mean. But I'll help, he added. Because fences matter. That was the beginning. Jack showed up at dawn the next day, already working before she stepped outside. He moved with the ease of someone who'd spent a lifetime outdoors, fixing posts, tightening wire, never wasting emotion. He didn't ask questions about the ranch. Didn't judge the peeling paint or the aging barn. He simply worked. They shared lunch sitting on the tailgate of her truck. She told him about the bills, the notices, the quiet fear that woke her every night. About how the land was the last thing her mother touched before she died. About how letting it go felt like losing her twice. He listened. Land remembers who loves it, he said eventually. It fights for them. She laughed sadly. I hope it fights harder than I can. Days turned into weeks. Jack became a quiet presence in her life. He helped mend fences, calm spooked horses, repair broken boards, even taught her how to read clouds for incoming storms. He never stayed too long. Never asked for anything. And never crossed a line. But Clara felt something shifting inside her. For the first time in years, she wasn't carrying everything alone. Some nights they sat on the porch steps, watching the sun sink behind the hills. Jack spoke little about himself, but sometimes, when the sky turned orange, his eyes went distant. You ever been in love? Clara asked once, half joking. Jack's jaw tightened. Once, he said. A long time ago. She didn't push. She didn't know that Jack Holloway owned half the state. She didn't know that the land beneath her boots was a fraction of the land his name quietly controlled. And she certainly didn't know that he hadn't loved anyone in years. Jack hadn't planned on stopping in that town. He was supposed to keep driving. Keep moving. That was the deal he'd made with himself after the last time his heart betrayed him. Years earlier, love had cost him everything that mattered. He had built an empire from nothing, buying forgotten land, restoring it, protecting it. But the woman he trusted most saw his heart as leverage. When the truth surfaced, affairs, manipulation, contracts signed in secret, it left him hollow, suspicious of intentions, and certain of one thing. Never again. So he stepped away from boardrooms, lawyers, and deals worth more money than most people would see in a lifetime. He dressed simply, spoke little, let the world forget his name. But Clara didn't look at him like he was useful. She didn't ask what he could give. She treated him like a human being. That terrified him more than any betrayal ever had. The truth came out by accident. A black SUV rolled into town one afternoon, glossy and out of place. Men in tailored suits stepped out, scanning the area like predators who knew exactly what they were hunting. They found Jack at the feed store. "Mr. Holloway," one of them said, voice respectful, tense. "We've been trying to reach you." The store went silent. Clara, standing near the counter, felt her stomach drop. "Mr. Holloway." She watched Jack straighten slowly, his jaw tightening. "I told you not to come here," he said. "The board meeting is in 3 days," the man continued. "The land acquisition in the north." Jack cut him off with a look. The name spread through town faster than wildfire. Jack Holloway. The man who owned more land than anyone in the region. The man whose signature could change economies. The man whose wealth was measured in acres, not numbers. People who once ignored him now stared. Some whispered apologies. Others smiled too quickly. Clara felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her. That evening, she confronted him at the ranch. "You lied to me," she said, her voice shaking. "You let me believe you were nothing." "I never said I was nothing," he replied quietly. "I just didn't say who I was." "Why?" "Because people stop seeing me when they know." "Then what was I?" she asked. "A break from your real life." Jack's voice cracked. "You were the first real thing I've felt in years. But the damage was done." She turned away. For days, Jack disappeared. The town buzzed with new energy. Invitations appeared. Business proposals followed him everywhere. Old enemies resurfaced. Lawyers called. The world he ran from came knocking. Clara watched from a distance, heart aching, convinced she'd been a chapter in a story that never belonged to her. Then the bank letter came. Final notice. She sat on the porch steps, letter crumpled in her hand, staring at the land she loved more than anything. That night, headlights cut through the darkness. Jack stepped out of his truck, hat in hand. "I didn't come to save you," he said softly. "I came to stand with you." He handed her a folder. Inside was a partnership agreement. Not a purchase. Not a bailout. A partnership. He'd already paid off the debt anonymously months ago. "I believe in this land," he said. "And I believe in you." Clara looked at him, really looked at him, and understood. He wasn't offering money. He was offering trust. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. Jack stayed. Not as a drifter. Not as a billionaire. But as a man who had finally learned that love wasn't something you lost. It was something you chose. Every day, if you've stayed with this story until the very end, it's probably because it wasn't just Jack and Clara's story, it was a reflection of our own. Sometimes life introduces us to people who seem ordinary, almost invisible, yet they carry entire worlds within them. And sometimes, we ourselves become priceless at the very moment we believe we are nothing. This story carries one simple truth. Real love is not built on money, status, or names. It lives in silence. It grows in patience. And it appears when someone stands beside you without wanting anything in return. If you've ever trusted someone and been broken, if you've ever felt alone in a crowded world, please remember, you are not alone. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and pass this story on to someone who may need hope today. Because maybe, without even knowing it, you are changing someone's life too. Heart.